relationships versus spiritual focus. I was thinking, and I've thought a lot about this idea, that there's a part of me that thinks there is this dichotomy between being spiritually focused and being in relationship. And I think that this comes from cultural conditioning, like the image of the priest that is, not married, and, it's come out in the last decade or two that doesn't work too well. Complete suppression of sexuality comes out in twisted ways often. And then there's just the image of the guru on the mountaintop, by himself. Usually it's a him in the portrayals and so forth. But there are exceptions to this kind of archetype of the alone spiritual person. Gandhi was married. Last I heard, Eckhart Tolle, author of The Power of Now, had a girlfriend. And I think that this dichotomy, as it occurs in my mind, is kind of a setup by the ego to say, you have to choose. It's one form of happiness or the other. It's the spiritual or the physical world. But the advantage, I think, to a true master, somebody who's attained enlightenment, it doesn't, they don't care. Whatever their external circumstances are, they're fine. But if we're still in the process of becoming, then I feel that there are some advantages to relationships, like close, connected, committed, intimate relationships that can help one move along further, because in a sense it's easy to just kind of be and not be triggered and just be relatively of a peaceful mind on one's own. But a lot of times what we're working through in our process of becoming more clear is undoing relational dynamics that happened when we were growing up and looking for corrective emotional experiences. And so I think relationships can bring more awareness to the surface if it's a conscious relationship that's founded in communication and being transparent and honest and all that. And relationships, they also can be a way of enhancing ideas and thoughts. When we get into an internal cycle with a thought, then there's nothing there to break it up usually, maybe a book or a movie or a song or something like that. But dialoguing, going back and forth, getting different angles, different insights, and a lot of times people will just intuitively present different angles if a person's stuck in a particular thought direction, one side of an issue, then the other person will naturally, well, there's also this too, and that can bring a more full-minded, holistic approach to viewing things as they are. And I think too, that in that spirituality versus relational thing, that spirituality can produce a kind of bliss that is really comfortable. Like, I've had 3 incidents in my life that a couple of them lasted for an hour, one for a half hour, and they came from different exercises in terms of forgiving exercise, an honesty, transparency exercise. These are real life interaction type things. And then also releasing competition. And I could still function during these periods, but during these times I really felt, I got a glimpse of what enlightenment feels like. I didn't have any chatter. I didn't have any cycling of thoughts. I was fully present. I almost felt like a release from the crown of all that mental energy. And it was wonderful. And so there's a part of me that's like, well, can I get there faster if I'm just on my own and just put all my focus on that? But I think that is my tendency to want to skip ahead and get to that blissed out state while surpassing other kind of lessons and issues. And So trying to go beyond sexuality, for example, when there's still a sexual draw, can be an attempt to just say like, oh, well, the whole sex and romance and relationship, that's just kind of messy and difficult, and so I'm going straight ahead and I'm going to be, you know, at peace. And I like the idea of wherever there's a charge, wherever there's a draw, whatever it is, money, sexuality, fame, you know, whatever, then when you explore it, you wear it out, you know, just like a tire on a car, the treads get worn out over time as you drive, and it just, you know, then it's smooth. It's like that's, I think the ego is rough, and it's got a lot of edges and just sharpness to it. But as we move through these different things that have a charge, then they get worn out. And we move into that more, you know, peaceful under the, you know, Bodhi tree or whatever state of mind, like Buddha, because we've worn out all of these other things that hold a charge. So part of why I wanted to do this video was just for myself to get out the conflicting thoughts that I've had about relationship versus spiritual focus, but I think that inside I've known that they are compatible, and that if we are spiritually focused and we are working on reducing ego and living blissfully, that actually just makes us more prepared for relationships in a healthy way. And if we lose our desire for sex, intimacy, the physical realm, because we're just so blissed out, then we can release that. But it could be that it just changes sexuality and intimacy into a more conscious, healing form of interacting, and doesn't necessarily need to be worn out. Who knows what will happen with that. Thanks for listening.